You spent 12 years learning how to find the area of a triangle, but not how to do your taxes. You memorized the periodic table, but never learned how credit cards actually work. And now you're working paycheck to paycheck, wondering why no one ever explained how to build wealth. The truth is, our education system wasn't designed to make you rich. It was designed to make you obedient. And if you don't learn how money actually works, you'll spend your whole life working for it instead of making it work for you. This is Financial Literacy 101. Everything school should have taught you about money, but didn't. Think back to your teenage years. You probably learned algebra, Shakespeare, and maybe even a bit of physics. But no one sat you down and explained compound interest. No one told you that your bank isn't your friend. It's a business. No one showed you how to read a paycheck, how taxes actually drain your income, or how the credit system silently judges every financial move you make. That's not an accident. Schools teach you how to follow instructions, get good grades, and find a job. But the wealthy, they play by a different rulebook. They understand how money moves, how to leverage debt, how to make their assets grow even while they sleep. The story of money in your life didn't start when you got your first paycheck. It started much earlier. The moment you entered a school system that was designed not to make you wealthy, but to make you manageable. You were told to sit still, memorize facts, follow directions, and dream of a stable job. The word wealth was never part of the curriculum. The system was preparing you to fit in, not to stand out. And so, while you were being graded on how well you could solve equations about train speeds, no one ever explained compound interest. While you were learning how to write essays about 18th century poetry, no one showed you what a credit score was. You were being taught obedience, not ownership. The truth is uncomfortable. The modern education system was built during the Industrial Revolution. Its purpose was to create reliable workers, not independent thinkers. It was engineered to feed a growing economy with predictable employees, people who would clock in, follow rules, and never question the structure of the system. You were taught to trade time for money, not how to make money work for you. And for most people, that trap lasts a lifetime. Let's rewind to your first paycheck. You probably remember the shock. You were told you'd earn $15 an hour, but by the time taxes, Social Security, and other deductions were taken out, that number looked smaller, a lot smaller. Maybe you shrugged it off. Everyone said it was just how things are. But that moment was your first lesson in the game of money. A game that most people don't even realize they're playing. The rules are simple. You either own assets or you are the asset. Most people become the latter. They sell their time, their energy, their freedom, all for a paycheck that barely covers the rising cost of living. They wake up early, sit in traffic, grind through work, and by the time they get home, there's just enough energy to scroll through their phones and escape into a world that looks far wealthier than theirs. The system keeps them running on the same hamster wheel: earn, spend, borrow, repeat. The irony is that money itself isn't complicated. What's complicated is how we're taught to think about it. From a young age, we're conditioned to see money as something scarce, something we must chase and cling to. We're told that debt is bad, that investing is risky, that talking about money is impolite. And so, generation after generation, people grow up financially blind. Meanwhile, the wealthy play by a completely different rulebook. Let's look at how. The average person deposits their paycheck into a bank account. The bank then takes that same money and lends it out to someone buying a house, starting a business, or swiping their credit card. The bank earns interest. The depositor earns nothing, maybe 0.01%. Yet the depositor feels safe, because safety is what we were taught to value. But safety without growth is just slow decay. The wealthy don't park money in banks. They park it in assets, stocks, businesses, real estate, or ventures that compound over time. They don't save for retirement. They build it. They don't wait for permission to invest. They study, take calculated risks, and let time do the heavy lifting. And time is the most misunderstood asset of all. Let's talk about compound interest, the quiet, invisible force that separates the rich from the poor. Albert Einstein called it the eighth wonder of the world for a reason. It's not magic, it's math. The principle is simple. When your money earns returns, and those returns start earning returns, your wealth begins to grow exponentially. The problem? Most people never give it enough time to work. They start saving late. They pull out money when markets dip. They get scared, influenced by headlines, and forget that compounding rewards patience, not panic. Imagine two friends, Sarah and James. Sarah starts investing $300 a month at age 25. James waits until he's 35. By the time they're both 65, Sarah has over $700,000. James barely hits $300,000, even though he invested the same amount monthly. The difference wasn't income or luck. It was time. Every day you delay learning about money, someone else's money is compounding ahead of you. Now let's address the darker side of financial illiteracy: debt. Debt, in itself, isn't evil. In fact, the wealthy use debt all the time, but they use it as a tool. They borrow to buy income-producing assets, properties, businesses, or investments that pay for themselves. The poor and middle class, on the other hand, use debt to buy liabilities: cars, clothes, vacations, things that lose value the moment they're bought. That's not a moral failing. It's a design flaw in how we're educated. No one ever told us the difference between good debt and bad debt. No one explained that borrowing to build wealth is entirely different from borrowing to appear wealthy. And that's how millions end up enslaved to the credit system, a modern form of quiet servitude. Credit cards lure you in with convenience and rewards, but they charge interest rates that can double or triple your original balance if you fall behind. Payday loans, car financing, even student loans, they all use the same strategy: short-term relief that becomes long-term bondage. The irony is that the institutions lending you money, the same ones offering financial advice, profit directly from your confusion. They don't need you to be poor. They just need you to stay comfortable enough to keep borrowing. And that's where financial literacy becomes rebellion. Understanding how money really works isn't just about getting rich. It's about taking back control of your life. It's about seeing through the illusions that keep people trapped in a perpetual state of working, spending, and worrying. Take inflation, for example. It's one of the most misunderstood forces in economics. Every year, the value of your money erodes. Slowly, quietly. Prices rise, purchasing power falls, and your savings lose strength. That's why holding cash for too long is like trying to fill a bucket full of holes. Meanwhile, the rich use inflation to their advantage. They buy assets that rise in value: stocks, property, commodities. When inflation hits, their net worth grows. The poor holding cash and debt get crushed. The lesson is simple: you can't save your way to wealth. You have to invest your way there. But investing isn't just about picking stocks or timing the market. It's about understanding ownership. Every investment you make is a tiny piece of freedom, a future where your money works harder than you do. It's not about greed, it's about autonomy. Because here's the uncomfortable truth: money is freedom in a capitalist society. The ability to say no, to walk away, to choose how to spend your time. All of that requires financial independence. And without literacy, independence is impossible. Now let's talk about mindset, the invisible wall that separates financial success from struggle. Most people view money emotionally, not strategically. They see it as something to be earned and spent, not as something to be managed and multiplied. That's why lottery winners go broke. It's why professional athletes earning tens of millions often file for bankruptcy within years of retiring. The problem isn't income, it's understanding. Wealth requires discipline, patience, and vision. 3 qualities schools rarely teach. Schools reward short-term performance. Wealth rewards long-term perspective. Financial literacy means learning how to delay gratification. It means understanding that buying the latest iPhone today could mean losing thousands in potential investment growth decades from now. It means realizing that financial security isn't about looking rich. It's about being unshakable. The wealthy think in decades. The poor think in paychecks. And the difference between those 2 time horizons is where all the power lies. Think of the economy like a chessboard. The average person plays checkers. Fast moves, short-term gains, immediate satisfaction. The wealthy play chess. They think 5 moves ahead. They understand taxes, leverage, diversification. They structure their lives to minimize liabilities and maximize growth. And they never stop learning. That's another secret you weren't told. Financial education doesn't stop when you graduate. In fact, that's when it truly begins. Money evolves. The markets evolve, the rules evolve. You can't rely on outdated strategies in a world where digital assets, decentralized finance, and algorithmic trading reshape wealth creation every year. So how do you start catching up? By understanding that financial literacy isn't a subject, it's a survival skill. You don't have to master everything overnight. You just have to begin reading, listening, watching, asking questions, and practicing awareness. Start by tracking your money. Where does it go? How much is wasted on impulse? What habits drain you without adding value? Awareness creates change. Then, learn how to grow it. Understand interest rates, inflation, risk management. Start small, an index fund, a side hustle, a savings goal. But whatever you do, start. Because every day that passes without investing in your financial education is a day the system wins. The truth is, financial literacy isn't about numbers, it's about power. It's about reclaiming your independence from a system that profits from your confusion. It's about realizing that freedom isn't something you're given, it's something you build, one smart decision at a time. You weren't taught these lessons in school for a reason. The system needs workers more than it needs thinkers. But in today's world, where information is everywhere and opportunity is global, ignorance is no longer an excuse. The power is in your hands now. Money isn't evil, it's energy. It flows to those who understand it and away from those who ignore it. Once you see how it moves, how it compounds, multiplies, and builds, you'll never look at it the same way again. So, the next time you see someone who seems effortlessly wealthy, remember, it's not luck, it's literacy. They learned what schools refuse to teach. And now, so can you. This year, global surveys show that over 70% of adults lack basic financial literacy. And yet, new generations are turning to platforms like YouTube, TikTok, and podcasts to learn what schools ignored. Financial education isn't a luxury anymore. It's survival, because the game of money has changed. But most people are still playing by the old rules. Awesome. We made it to the end. I truly hope you got some valuable insights from this video. If you did, smash that like button. It tells me you want more. To stay in the loop and never miss out, make sure you're subscribed. Click that button and the bell icon. Now I'm super curious to know what you think. Drop your comments down below. Let's chat. Your support means the world, and I can't wait to connect with you in the next one. Take care and have a wonderful day.